Welcome to this video on the Wara channel. My name is Sri Satguru Buddha Rawa Bhagwan. In today's video we'll talk about the mind and the power of the mind, the ability to develop the mind that the yogi undertakes in sadhana, in practice, within Parampara. Some beings practice outside of Parampara, and some beings practice with no Parampara. Right? So many people start practicing yoga and it leads to the development of that being. And then according to the eternal Dharma, the being is eventually led to the Guru, right? So in some lifetimes to the Guru. And then at one point in their story, the being, the spiritual practitioner, the yogi, whether a yogi at that point or not, and it depends how you define yogi, for all are practicing yoga, which is the processes of life, to receive, to hold, and to project. So some practice, some don't practice, and depending on your karma, you may be led to a Satguru. And the Satguru will lead you to full enlightenment. The Satguru can also be the avatar. And the avatar creates the bridge. The avatar carries. The avatar establishes. The avatar teaches. The avatar lives. And the avatar lives forever. The avatar is the deity, is the enlightened one, fully enlightened in their window, with their own domains, and the power to give them presence. But all the deities and all their windows are enlightened by the system. And the system is Devi. The system is the goddess, the operating system, and all its processes. And they are empowered by the active principle. And the active principle is Siva. And Siva enters as the great hero Ra of the stories. Rasiva, which stands for Para Siva, who is Mahavishnu. And as such, the Kalki avatar walks the land. All things are systems. Birds are systems. You may look at them as a thing of flesh, but what are they really? What do they represent as systems? When you see crows flying and perching on buildings, what are these systems? And what do they really do within a computer program? Do you think you exist as a body. And then many would say, of course we exist as a body. That's what we know. That's what we experience. Yes, this is what you're shown. This is the experience of life that you're given. As beings that are empowered by the light of God in their downward cycle of recharge. Energy centers that can hold the light, that can receive it, hold it, and project it. And as spiritual beings, you can grow. And sadhana, yoga sadhana, is the method to grow. But if you can do it within a parampara, an established parampara, you will jump light years ahead in your practice. But yoga through parampara requires discipline. You represent the whole parampara as a yogi of the parampara, where you go. And it takes a lot of work too. One of the things the yogi develops is the mind. As such, the mind can be developed. And there are techniques to develop the mind. There are different parts to the mind. And different parts can be developed. Different minds have different inclinations. And different inclinations can be developed within the mind. The mind can be partitioned. As such, one can establish sectors within the mind. As such, one can establish territories within the mind. As such, one can defend those territories within the mind. As such, one can take control of all the territories within the mind. As such, one can establish control over the mind. As such, one can establish borders around the mind. As such, one can bring unity to the mind. As such, one can push outwards the boundaries of the mind. As such, one can keep pushing the boundaries of the mind. As such, one can grow the mind. One can grow the mind in different specialties. And one can grow the mind in all specialties. One can use the mind to connect. One can use the mind to control. One can use the mind to develop the mind. One can use the mind to not develop the mind. One can use the mind to connect to all things. One can use the mind to control all things. And one can use the mind to not control all things. Thank you for listening to this video on the Wara channel. And as there are beings with more developed minds, I wish for you to develop the mind.